Shalom. Before I begin this video, first and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Hashem Yahweh Shai, or Yahweh Kakwadash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that continually roll very well to this very day. Shalom to the whole elect that's continually plowing in his work, giving diligence to make your calling and election sure, in faith, true sincerity, and in all charity. Now, the topic of this video is going to be entitled, "The Flood Was Left for an Ensample," in which, indeed, the flood that came upon the planet Earth during the time of Noah and his family, it wasn't just for one reason why the Lord flooded the whole entire planet Earth, because the scriptures speak about how evils and wickedness had abounded on the planet Earth, and the way that the Lord got rid of wickedness on the planet Earth for a time was by way of the flood. And not only did he do that because of that, but because that was a display of what he's capable of doing. It was a display of what happens when wickedness overcome the planet Earth, when wickedness is multiplied and is spread as a cancer, as a disease throughout the planet Earth. All right. So just like before, when the Lord flooded the planet Earth, in which, it was nothing nice, man. How these people, especially these self-proclaimed Christians, these whacked out Christians, claiming that the Lord loved everybody. Well, if that was the case, then why did he flood the earth? Why did he flood the earth with water and killed off every single living thing, to the people, to the animals? All right. And only left a remnant to be delivered. Why did he do that? That's not a nice, or that's not a lovey-dovey act from the Most High. All right. Because that was a display on what he's really, like the title says, that's left in it as an ensample of what not to do. The Lord is known for doing things like that. He's known for leaving signs behind, using examples, similitudes, all right, just to prove a point. And guess what? Still to this very day, the people have not learned from history, all right? Because history, tells a lot about, the things that are to come, all right, and the things that are going on right now. But the people refuse to look into these things because the Spirit is not dealing with them, all right? As it stands today, the only ones that the Lord is dealing with right now are the men of the Lord that are on the highways and byways, man, who are of the nation of Israel, which consists of the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans. And guess what? Just like he flooded the planet Earth back then, during that time, and only delivered a remnant, guess what? He's going to do it again. But guess what? It's now going to be by water this time. All right? And that remnant is the 144,000 out of the nation of Israel, which makes up the elect. All right? The scriptures speak about the elect, not only in the Old Testament, but the New Testament as well. All right? And that's another thing that the Lord is known for. Gathering a remnant and delivering them, which has always been a recurring act. All right? Now, why is that? Well, for one thing, it's prophecy's sake. so that his words can be fulfilled. And also, too, the elect, the 144,000, has always been in the category as being the first fruits. You know, it went on since the beginning of time, and it's going to happen again. The first fruits are going to be delivered as the remnant of the Lord, and those are the ones that are going to escape the coming dangers that are to come upon the planet Earth, the plagues that the Lord has set for this land America and other parts of the world. These things have to come to pass, man. You know, the Lord has specifically picked out certain individuals out of the nation of Israel to fulfill that lot. All right. But once again, like the title says, man, the flood is left as an ensample, as an example of what happens when you indulge yourself in wickedness, and what happens when wickedness and evils and filthiness and abominations run rampant on the planet Earth. So guess what? It's going to be no different than today, man. The Lord is going to come and sweep this whole entire planet Earth with fire this time. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and jump to the scriptures. This book of 2nd Esdras, the 3rd chapter. And let's see here. I'm going to start at verse 5. As I'm starting at verse 4, it's like you. I'm going to run through it real quick. It says, O Lord, who bearest rule, thou spakest at the beginning, when thou didst plant the earth, and that thyself alone, and commandest the people, and gavest a body unto Adam, without soul, which was the workmanship of thine hands, and didst breathe into him the breath of life, and he was made living before thee. All right. And that breath represents what? Order. All right. In which came in the form of commandments, certain things that has to be kept in order to keep life going and to live a full life, and to continue, and for the earth to continue to flourish. That's the reason why the commandments were set in place in the beginning. All right. The words of Yahweh Bashemel Shah was given unto Adam. All right. And guess what? He was made a living soul. Okay. Now, verse 6, it says, and thou leadest him into paradise, which thy right hand hath planted before ever the earth came forward. And unto him thou gavest commandment to love thy way, which he transgressed, and immediately thou appointest death in him and in his generations. See, that's when we started to die, man. We couldn't live that full life anymore because of transgression of Adam, which really started with Eve. All right, when the serpent beguiled her. All right. Now it says, of whom came nations, tribes, people, and kindreds out of number, and every people walked after their own will, and did wonderful things before thee, and despised thy commandments. Now, is that the same thing that's going on now? Isn't every people that are walking after their own will, which is in the form of what? Saying that they have free will, that they can do whatever they want to do. The vibration of do without will. They can be whatever they want to be. They can, lay down whoever when they want to lay down with. They can lay down with the same gender. They can change genders. So the people now, as it stands today, the people is walking after their own will. All right. And did wonderful things before thee, because back then you never heard of a man turning himself into a woman back in the ancient world. those are the things that were never thought of back then. But guess what? And now it's to the point where as is in this the year 2018, it's known as wonderful things before the Lord. All right, in which another way of saying wonderful is amazing, or something that's out of the ordinary. In which, once again, never thought to be done back in the ancient world. So the Lord is witnessing these things. He's taking them to account. And guess what? Like he did back then during the flood, he witnessed the wickedness of the people and the abominations that were being done. And he destroyed the planet Earth with water, man. All right, I'm going to read on. It says, I'm going to read verse 8 again. It says, and every people walked after their own will and did wonderful things before thee and despised thy commandments. And again, in process of time, thou broughtest the flood upon those that dwelt in the world and destroyest them. All right. So for these things, the Lord repaid wickedness with evil. He repaid evil with evil, because contrary to popular belief, the word evil means bad time. That's all it means. Okay. Verse 10, it says, and it came to pass in every of them that as death was to Adam, so was the flood to these. Nevertheless, one of them thou leftest, namely Noah, with his household, of whom came all righteous men. All right. So there it is, man. After the Lord destroyed the earth by way of flood, he brought Noah and his family, which came all righteous men. All right. Because guess what? Out of the line of Noah, right, came Shem. And through the line of Shem was, if I'm not mistaken, our fact said, and then all the way down the line, all the way down to Abraham, and then unto Isaac, and then unto Jacob. All right. Because guess what? Even though you got that righteous line that come out of Noah down by way of Shem, guess what? You have another nation that came out of that same line, which is the son of Isaac, and that nation is Edom. All right, which precede the Edomites, and those are the wicked that the Bible speaks of. All right, because not all men that came out of Noah were righteous. All right, you only had that righteous line that came out of Noah, that went down through Shem, all the way down to Isaac and Jacob. That was the righteous seed line. Okay? Now I'm going to go from there. I had another one that I want to get. It's in the book of Sirach. Like you. Okay, now I'm start at verse start at verse 6. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 40. And verse 6, it says, a little or nothing in his rest, and afterward he is in his sleep, as in a day of keeping watch, troubled in the vision of his heart, as if he were escaped out of battle. When all is safe, he awaketh and marveleth that the fear was nothing. Such things happen unto all flesh, both man and beast, and that is sevenfold more upon sinners. All right, this is what sevenfold upon sinners. All right, sevenfold more upon sinners, should I say? Death, bloodshed, strife and sword, calamities, famine, tribulation, and the scourge. These things were created for the wicked, and for their sakes came the flood. So for the sake of the wicked, the flood came. All right. So guess what? For the sake of these people that are here, is going to come the destruction. All right. Now I had another one I want to grab. So go back down. This book of Sirach, the 44th chapter, and verse 17, it says, Noah was found perfect and righteous in the time of wrath. He was taken in exchange for the world. Read that again. It says, in the time of wrath, he was taken in exchange for the world. All right. So the Lord saw Noah as a righteous man, and he'd rather have him to be delivered than the rest of the world. All right. So in other words, the Lord really, in a roundabout way, or let me rephrase that, in the Lord did not care for the whole entire earth, man. He didn't care for the whole world. He didn't care for the rest of the people that were here on the planet Earth living during that time. All right. He didn't care whether they lived or died. Why? Because they were wicked. All right. Same thing today, man. The Lord does not change. Okay. If he wants something to be done to a certain individual, he's going to have that done. All right. If he wants the whole entire planet Earth to be flooded with water and to destroy the wicked and all these people except for a remnant, guess what he's going to have? He had that done. All right. And he executed that judgment, and it happened. So same thing today, when the Lord is about to execute judgment on these people and save a remnant, and guess what? He's going to execute it, and he's gonna prevail. All right. So once again, it says, in the time of wrath, he was taken in exchange for the world. Therefore was he left as a remnant unto the earth when the flood came. All right. An everlasting covenant was made with him, that all flesh should perish no more by the flood, and he kept that promise, and he's going to continue to keep that promise. All right. But guess what? He said he wasn't going to flood the earth with water, though. That's a promise that he made, that he was never going to flood the earth with water. But he didn't say anything about destroying this place with fire. All right. You know, that wasn't in the contract. Okay. Now I want to go from there. I want to get the book of 2 Peter, the second chapter. Start at the 5th verse and get straight to the point. It says, "And spare not the old world, but save Noah, the 8th person, a preacher of righteousness, bringing in the flood upon the world of the ungodly," right? "And turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemned them with an overthrow, making them an ensample unto those that after shall live ungodly." So not only was the flood made an ensample of how not to live, right? But he also made Sodom and Gomorrah an example of how not to conduct yourself in life. All right. See, these things that, like I mentioned before at the beginning of the video, these things happen for an ensample, for an example of what not to do. All right. And how to keep yourself away from the evil so that this won't happen to you. All right. You know, how much more do these people need in order to get it through their thick skulls on what to do and what not to do? But that just goes to show you that the Spirit only deals with certain individuals out of the nation of Israel, which is the elect. Other than that, you know, that's pretty much it. You know, that's why the Lord is going to make the elect the governing body, and the rest of these people, especially our own people, that chose to stay here in the vibration of Babylon. Guess what? They're just going to be citizens in the kingdom. All right. They're not going to enjoy the perks of the kingdom as the elect will, because they haven't done anything to deserve it. All right. The only thing they have going for them right now is that if they die on this side, then if they come back in the kingdom, and they're not going to be under the rulership of Esau anymore. You know, they don't have to serve hardcore bondage, but they're just going to live as citizens. And that governing body, once again, is going to be the elect. Okay. But let's like it. Grab one last precept. I'm gonna close it on out. This is 2 Peter, the 3rd chapter, and the 6th verse. It says, "Whereby the world that then was being overflowed with water perished, but the heavens and the earth, which are now," which is today in this time, "by the same word are kept in store." So in the same word are kept in store is reserved. All right. So the judgment that was laid out for the whole entire planet Earth back then, which was destroyed by the flood, guess what? That same, or should I say that similar judgment is set for the planet Earth now. But if you read on, it says reserved unto fire against the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men. So just how the Lord destroyed the earth with water, guess what? It's reserved unto fire against the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men, which perdition means destruction. All right. So that would be the destruction of ungodly men, fire. Thermonuclear fire and concentrated fire. All right. But that pretty much wraps up this video and this lesson. At our Lord's will, this was edifying to the body of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, the members of the Holy Elect. And look, to those of you that listen, that's hearkening and understand, look, man, you better get your mind right before it's too late, before you're caught up in this next coming flood. All right, which is of fire.